If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Today I woke up and I thought that it would be really interesting and supportive to my well-being to sit down and write what I wanted for the day. So to literally sit down and say, what is it that I want from today? But it turned out a little bit different than I anticipated, which life often does, as we know. And so this is how it went. Dear Divine Self, dear Higher Self, today I find myself worthy of large sums of abundance in every way. Today I find myself worthy of love, of loving others and accepting love from others. Today I find myself worthy of peace and kindness. Today I find myself worthy of living in this moment. Today I find myself worthy of physical beauty, health, and well-being. Today, I find myself worthy of abundant energy. Today, I find myself worthy of creativity and fun. And then, just as I was about to write, today, I find myself worthy of ease, I couldn't write it. I was a little bit surprised, and so of course I stopped and I looked at that. And I went back and I thought about the whole thing that I had just written. I find myself worthy of. Well, we've talked about worth a lot on Chai before, and for those of you who've been listening, you know that when we speak about worth, what we often talk about is this sense of really knowing yourself and owning yourself and finding this intrinsic worth. And when we talk about worth in relation to manifestation, in order to manifest something, anything, you have to feel worthy of it. And so when I started writing this morning, instead of, a list like this is what I want to accomplish for today, the old to-do list, or even saying, I want abundance or love or health or whatever it might be, I started writing I am worthy of. And it was so easy and effortless to say, I'm worthy of abundance and I'm worthy of health and well-being and all these things. And when I got to ease, and it's interesting that that came at the end of the list, and that was the end of the list. Of course it was. So when I got to the end of the list and could not write I'm worthy of ease, I began to look at that. And the first thing that I did is said, well, how can I rephrase this? Or how can I create an opening for this in my life, an introduction for this more in my life? And so without much thought, my intuition guided me, and I wrote, today, I find myself worthy to discover the divine meaning of ease, making things easy. And it's interesting because in so many ways I experience ease in so many places in my life. And of course, those are not the places that I even think about not having ease because, well, they're easy, and doesn't that make sense? So today I decided, with the help of the divine universe, to talk about ease and share thoughts and ideas and new epiphanies. When I say new, I'm sure that there'll be epiphanies that have not arisen before the moment that you hear them live on this air. Well, at least in this conversation, that is. Well, the universe definitely supported this because my guest for today was not able to make it, and my darling daughter-in-law, April Kritzer, was always ready, willing, and able to participate, having chai with me with great ease and flexibility. And so today, April and I will be talking about the power of ease and what that looks like, how to get more of it, and mostly what I'm most interested in is creating ease in every moment of your life so that it's an automatic pilot, so that you don't have to think about, oh, how do I make this easy? Because there's something about how do I make this easy that already indicates that it's not. Right? So let's see what happens on this journey today. And thank you all, whether you're listening to the show live or you're listening to the show archived, for sharing chai with me today. So April, thanks for stepping up and stepping in at the last minute here.
Thank you. Always fun. Always fun.
Yeah. So it's funny because I started this conversation with you this morning about ease, and then you mentioned that you were going out at this time, and I said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Can you can you be on the show today?" And of course, you said yes. And I said, "What do you think we should do the show on?" And you turned to me and you said, "Ease."
Right.
Of course, I already knew that, or I was already thinking that she's going to say ease, right? Yeah. So have you been thinking about this conversation much today prior to the show?
Actually, I have, and the funny thing that came to my mind. Because ease has been such a big thing for me to learn. 5 months ago when I was pregnant with my son Alta, I remember as I'm in the last stages of my pregnancy, and I'm still handling a lot of the business and the phone calls and the emails, and I'm still just a big part of the business, which I'm hugely thankful for because it helped me
and what you're referring to is, of course, Echo House Publishing, which is our publishing company. And by the way, the show is sponsored by Echo House Publishing. I'll tell you that later. So go ahead.
So with our business with the publishing company, I was spending a lot of time with clients and nearing to the end. And then it just got to this point where I just felt like I had to do everything. And I actually would get it in my head that I couldn't go into labor because I had to go to the bank and I had to do this and I had to do that. And
so you had no time for going into labor?
No time for going into labor. And if you remember about a week before I had him, I had like a nervous breakdown. Mm-hmm. I just completely melted down. Yeah. And what I've learned from that experience is life went on.
Yeah.
I mean, I went into labor. I had the baby. Mm-hmm. There were people there to help me, support me. Mm-hmm. Everything got done. Mm-hmm. And I just realized how difficult I made it.
Right. Right.
And then I have to look, what other areas? And I could just see everything I do, whether it's getting up in the morning or working, play, I'm making it so difficult.
Mm-hmm. So how do we do that? How do you do that? How do you make things difficult? Oh, there's a good question. How do you make things difficult?
Yeah. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. And I think the way I personally make things difficult is I just put so much energy into it. It's like I fight with everything I do. So it's like whatever it is, being on the computer or with the clients, it's like I put all this extra energy or time into it that I really don't necessarily need to do. And so I think what I do is I add more steps than is needed.
Right. Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Or, being able to ask for help or delegating or just taking a minute to slow down and breathe and say, okay, how can I make this easy?
Yeah. Yeah. How can I make this easy? So as I've been thinking about this, a lot of thoughts came up. And one of those thoughts was that I forget about ease, which naturally and intrinsically exists when I think that I have to do it myself. And so and it's it's an interesting concept because as you know I do a lot and there's a lot of different things that I do. And I love it all. I write and of course do the show and the publishing company and the kids and I have the coaching school and there's a ton of other things that I do and I love that. I don't think that I would be happy doing just one or two things because I love the variety. So I'm really a choice for everything that I do in my life, and that's a really important piece. If you're making a note how to make things easy, you can on your note you can say only do what you love to do, because that's a really key piece. Only do what you love to do. So I'm very, very aware of that. And yet there are places that I find that they're not easy. They're not at ease. And when I really look at that, I forget that there is greater help at hand. And I don't mean like greater help of people that work with us and stuff like that. I mean like greater help, like my higher self, my divine self. So it's interesting that I'm writing this little letter to my divine self this morning, and suddenly I become aware that it wasn't easy for me to write, I am worthy of ease. But I am worthy of discovering the divine's definition of ease, which is what this has been a process of and is right now even. And so when I look at these places that, are more challenging, I can see very, very, very easily, excuse the pun, that I think that I have to do it myself, that I'm handling everything, that I forget that there's a higher power at play here, really orchestrating everything. The areas of my life that work with ease, of course, that's going on.
Right.
Yeah. But the areas that I think I have to figure it out with my little brain. So it's my little, like what? How big is your brain? Like the size of your fist. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe that's your heart. I don't know. So people are not listening in for Anatomy 101. So I could think. So however big my brain is, it certainly cannot compete with this divine mind that's infinite and immeasurable, that knows everything and connects everything. So I've been just really looking at the places where I trust and where I don't trust, and looking at, well, why is it that I forget to trust? And I'm wondering now as I'm saying this if a lot of it doesn't have to do with ego, like ego, like, and not even in a bad way, because I think the ego is a great thing, and but it's a servant, not a master, and that's the point. So maybe it's those places where the ego becomes my master, like I can do it all, instead of being the servant and just following guidance and intuition. Yeah. Do you resonate with that at all?
Yeah, and I just look at all the places that I do have ease in my life, and I definitely see it's definitely this higher power. Because what I was just thinking about as you were talking, it's just how we already lived our lives and we've already made our decisions. I saw that clearly. Like, it's just playing out now, and it seems slow and it seems uncertain, but just looking at how much I take life so seriously, how I feel like I'm really controlling everything.
Yeah.
And so when I hear the word ease, I think light. It's
light.
It's very, very light, and it's very... It's almost like the small things don't really matter.
And yet, that's the beautiful dichotomy, and yet everything matters. Yes, but not matters like to get stressed over, matters in like, paying attention. Because there's a big difference between paying attention and being stressed. And in fact, I think when we really pay attention, this is going to be a divine inspiration, I can tell. When we really pay attention, that stress disappears. When we really pay attention, stress disappears, because if we're paying attention, we're so much in the moment, and guidance is flowing through us, and everything's connected, that things really are effortless and they're easy. And now that we're talking about this, I notice at the times that I feel stressed, it's like I'm not paying attention. What I'm really doing is like, I've got to get the kids, or I have to call that person back, or I have to finish writing that, or like all those things on my endless to-do list. No more to-do lists for me. That I'm not in the moment, and I'm stressed. So no, I'm not in the moment. I'm not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And I lived my life so much on that to-do list. Now looking at, as you're saying that, and I was in the future one step ahead, and so I was never in the present moment. And now I can see that's why I wasn't available. That's why I wasn't there to communicate, because I really wasn't there. I was in the future, or the past, or wherever else, but not in the present moment. So that's a good point. That's really a good point.
Right there. That's a huge epiphany for me. A huge epiphany from that stress is really impossible if you're in the present moment. And how do you get in the present moment? By paying attention. By paying attention, and paying attention without story. Because a lot of times I think we think we're paying attention, but we've got these stories attached. And that's not paying attention. I don't think we can pay attention if we really have a story going on. That we can only pay attention when we're really clear of all our stories and all our filters. Yeah. That's pretty huge. I like that. Yeah. So I haven't shared this with you, but you know how people always ask me how I ended up in Utah, from New York. And for those who are listening to us, yes, we are on Out Loud Talk Radio, but I'm actually in Salt Lake City, Utah right now, so we're doing it remotely. And it's a beautiful day here finally. It's May 3rd, and it's been snowing up until yesterday, so someone forgot to tell Mother Nature that it's spring, right? But that's okay. That's okay. Beautiful symbolism in that. So people always ask me, so Nanice, how did you end up in Utah from New York? And my answer is usually, this answer of, and that was almost 13 years ago that we moved here, and I was married at the time, and my children were younger, and my husband, got a job opportunity, and, we took it, a job opportunity in another state, and we took it, and 3 weeks later we're living in Utah, right? That's the story that you've heard, right? Okay. And that story's true. But the other day, I realized something that was so amazing that I can't wait to share it with you now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you know the song Exactly by Amy Steinberg, right? And for those of you who don't know the song, go on YouTube, Google Amy Steinberg, and look for the little YouTube thing that comes with it looks like blue and water. That's the most amazing one, and it's a great song. And so in the song, she just really talks about how everything is connected, how, that she existed because of her parents' kiss. But look at all the things that had to go into her parents finally kissing. And, just love it. It makes so much sense. And so, I don't know, a week or so ago, I was just all of a sudden thinking, how did I really end up in Utah? It was certainly more evolved than then. And so I traced it back to a moment. And of course I can trace it back to, go my birth, be off of my birth and all that. But I just really wanted something tangible. Like, really, how did I end up in Utah? And so, when I was 28, somewhere around then, I was going to this gym in Levittown, New York. Now, how does my ending up in Utah have anything to do with a gym in Levittown, New York? Okay, wait. So I was going to this gym in Levittown, New York, and I had been going there for a while, and had a friend who was this beautiful man, and I ended up falling in love with him. Yes, well, there was a little problem, and that was he was married. Yes, and because of that, I did not want to see him anymore, because it broke my heart, because I knew it was never going to go anywhere, and and I knew that or at least I believed at that time that he would never, leave his marriage, and and as much as I loved him, it was too painful to allow those emotions to continue, knowing that they wouldn't go anywhere. So I decided that I would go to a different gym. Okay. So I started going to a completely different gym on another part of town. And I was going there for a little while, and there was a man at the gym that I would often see, and he would just be rushing around and doing weights and doing that. And I was thinking, and for one day, I happened to go on a Friday evening, sit in the sauna, and there he was, and we started talking and ended up dating, and several years later having children, getting married, yes, in that order. I do everything backwards. And then he and my mother got into a fight, and because of the fight, he decided that he was ready to move, and I was definitely ready to move, and he had been offered a transfer anywhere in the country, and Utah was one of those places. And I had been out here skiing, a couple of years before with him, and just absolutely loved it. If I had not come out here for skiing, I would have thought of that Utah, because in New York, people think Utah, right?
That's where the polygamous live.
Yeah, the polygamous, it goes on and on. So, right. But I had been out here because I had gone skiing with him and just fell in love with the place. And so within a few minutes, we decided that it was going to be Salt Lake City, Utah. And 3 weeks later, we're living here. Now, there's a little bit more to the story, and that is my friend who I was in love with, one day out of the blue, when I'm still, going to that first gym and seeing him on a regular basis, one day out of the blue, I don't even know why, but he said to me, "You should take Dustin to Vermont skiing." I don't even know where that came from. And I just thought to myself, that's a wonderful idea. And I hadn't been skiing since I was 17, so 10, 11 years, something. And I just thought, wow, that's a wonderful idea. And did, in fact, take Dustin that weekend. Dustin was like 9 or 10 or something like that, skiing for the first time in Vermont, and we started doing it regularly. So years later, a couple of years, whatever it was, when I met Jack, Because Jack was a big skier, when he invited me to go skiing with him, I already was skiing again. And so when we came out here to Utah to ski, that never would have happened except for the fact that I had already started skiing prior to that, because I never would, Jack, as you know, is an expert skier, and if I hadn't at least been somewhat good, there's no way that I would have gone with him, nor would he have wanted me to, right? Yes. And so all these things led to me coming to Utah and being here now. Now, so what does this have to do with ease? I certainly could not have made those things happen. I mean, certainly they happened, and there was a flow. There was a flow that all things are connected. I could have made it hard. Now, I should also mention that prior to moving out here, I had young kids and really wasn't making a lot of money, didn't have the means to move. Jack and I weren't even living together at that time, all these things. So on paper, there was no way that I could have moved. And my dream was to wake up and see the mountains. That was like, I just want to wake up and see the mountains. But there was no physical way that I could have made that happen. But I just kept visualizing waking up and seeing the mountains. And lo and behold, it just happened. I mean, once I really made that decision, I want to wake up and see the mountains, within a really short period of time, it miraculously happened. But it didn't just ripple forward, it rippled back. All the things that needed to be in place for that moment in time where Jack says to me, yeah, we have an opportunity to move anywhere in the country. It rippled backwards. So why am I thinking about this today? Well, aside from the fact that we're doing the show on this, Sarah Love, called me early today, and she was going through some challenging stuff, and we talked for a while, and I was simply a reminder of ease, especially since that we had already been talking about that. That was very much on my mind, and I just said, I want to show you something. She said, what? And I said, I want to show you, just how things really work, and why you're with your significant other. And so Sarah's with life partnership with my good friend Jay Sable. He was on the show a few weeks ago, did an amazing show. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. And they met through me. So Sarah was from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I met her here. And I met Jay. He lives in LA, but I met him in Florida. So they might have met another way, but they didn't. They met through me. So look how they came about. So first of all, these things had to happen for me to get to Utah to meet Sarah. But the way that I met Jay was through a whole other bizarre set of experiences where I went to an NLP conference, which I wasn't even planning. I wasn't even sure if I should go. Should I go? Should I not go? And I just kind of put it out to the universe. Do you remember this story?
I remember the story.
Should I go? Should I not go? Should I go to this NLP thing? Should I not go? And I was really on the fence, and I just gave it up to the universe. And at the instant that I did, I heard my email go off. And I went to my email, and there was an email from someone I had never heard of from before, and their email address was NLP Today. Okay, today. That means NLP Today. And so I knew that I was supposed to go right away. Right? It was very clear. And so I went, and as a result of going there, it directed me to another seminar, and I eventually, because of that string of events, met Jay, and invited, we were friends, and then he came out here and he met my friends and ultimately met Sarah, and now they're together. Okay, so you could say that Jay and Sarah are together in this beautiful, amazing relationship that they're both so, so grateful for, because I wanted to avoid a man that I was in love with because he was married, and he told me that I should take my son skiing in Vermont.
Good point.
Now, Sarah couldn't have made that happen. Right? Yeah. So it's like the point is, long story, a very short point, the point is there really is a divine guidance working through us, and not just us personally, but through the world.
Right.
It's all around. It's all around. And when we look at really how things happen, we can see that most things really are outside of our control. And when we look at them from this perspective, there's magic and miracles happening all around us. So I could say, so what? I'm in Utah, big deal. I moved to Utah. Sarah could be like, oh yeah, I met my soulmate. Yeah, great. Jake is like, I met my soulmate, right? But there's so much more to it. And when we trace things back, we can see, okay, there's something at work here.
Yeah.
And even you.
I was just going to say
Go ahead.
how that changed my
I'll
life.
take a sip of tea. You go ahead.
So I'm thinking back when you're in Destin in New York, and
Yes.
I'm in my family house with my mom in this abusive, horrible relationship. It's just this terrible
family.
Yeah, my
dynamics.
family and the dynamics of it. And I just felt there was no hope. And I remember just crying one night. And I mean, I didn't see any ray of hope anywhere in any friendship I had. All my family was not supportive of me. I just got out of a very deeply affected abuse and court, and no one.
Well, you took the man, your mother's husband, who was sexually abusing you. You spoke out, and you had to go to court to speak up against him, and he was found guilty. And then your mom snuck him back into the house. Is that how I remember it correctly?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, and so you were in a pretty bad way at that point.
I was really bad way. And I remember just laying in bed and just praying that someone would save me, that someone would come and take me out of this family. I didn't see any way of that being a possibility. And I was at the end of my rope. I was ready to commit suicide. I was done. Mm-hmm. And basically the only way that I wasn't going to kill myself is if I had someone or some people that would help me. Because I didn't see any reason for me to live anymore. And for some reason, I just felt like, just hold on a little longer, just hold on.
What month was that? Do you remember?
I'm going to say around November.
In November? Yeah. Yeah, so that was just at the time that we moved out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just hold on a little bit longer. Hope's coming.
Yeah.
And I remember when I met Dustin in January, because he'd been in the school for a few months. I just
a couple, yeah.
Just didn't know who he was yet. And as soon as I met Dustin, I mean, I could just feel this connection. I mean, I just felt something completely different about him, and I didn't know what it was. And at that point, I wasn't even talking to anyone about any of the stuff that's been going on. No, not even my closest friends. The therapist I went to, they just didn't understand me or my situation. Some reason with Dustin, I was just able to open up to him and tell him what was really going on. And I couldn't believe that I was actually able to do that, because I felt no one believed me, because how my family and everyone rejected me. No one believed me. Yeah. Well, they believed me. I guess they just were in denial of it themselves.
Or they didn't know what to do about it.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so you guys having that decision to come out long before when you decided to leave that gym
right,
saved my life, because I chose to live. I chose to hold on. And I'll never forget that feeling when I got into your car when you picked me and Dustin up from school.
And for those of you who don't know, Dustin is my son.
Right.
Yes. And he was 16 at the time, and so was April, and they met in high school. Go ahead.
And I remember just getting into the car, and the first words I can remember were, "I'm home." I found my way home. And that's when I found out that family is not who you're born to, it's who you choose to love.
Yes.
So we're all family.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And once again, that was just an ease.
Yes.
It felt right, it felt light, it was easy.
It was easy. Yeah. And that reminds me of, just a year later. So you were immediately part of our family, and I should, mention that Dustin, as you know, just said, "Oh, there's this girl at school, and she just really needs to talk," and and of course I knew that, I could tell intuitively that it was more, and and all that. And so a year later, when we invited you to come live with us, and you guys were just 17 years old, And I sat down, and the reason for that is because your mother was getting married again, and she wanted to take you out of state, and there was a you didn't want to go, first of all, and there was a great fear that it would be another abusive stepfather. And so we sat down and decided to invite you to come live with us. And I remember talking to Dustin about this and saying, you realize this is a commitment here. You can't like, oh, it's not working and she has to leave, and afterwards. And he said, I know. And so here's this 17-year-old young man who's saying, yes, I'm ready to and willing to make this commitment, and totally did.
Yeah.
I mean, he did, obviously. And so your family rebelled, of course. And your father threatened you and threatened us, and certainly that doesn't seem, that seems like that could be a fight, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that could definitely be a fight. And he threatened, because she was 17 and underage, and all this, and if I remember correctly, your dad threatened to take you away and throw me in jail, or something along those lines, right? Is that if I remember correctly? And you were so upset, you were crying, and I remember sitting down with you, and I said to you, here's an opportunity for you to take your power back, and just to, I said, you can't control what your dad does. You are underage, but here's an opportunity for you to stand in your truth.
Right.
And take your power back, which was something that you had been missing, obviously. So many, young people, and however old, have not experienced, after going through such abuse and all that, don't have an experience of their power. So here's an opportunity to take your power back. We talked about it a little bit, and then if I remember correctly, you called your dad up, and do you remember what you said?
I do. I remember telling my dad that, if he really wanted to, he could come and take me. And I told him, there's no way I can live where he lives in this tiny, tiny little trailer and didn't have any place for me, and it wouldn't be a very good place for me to be. And he knew that. Mm-hmm. And no other family members was willing to take me in. And so I told him the option is either you accept and love that I'm here with this wonderful family that cares about me and loves me, and I'll be safe and taken care of and go to school. I let him know I really wanted to graduate from school, and I told him otherwise I'm going to have to go in an orphan home.
Because you weren't going to go live with him.
Because I wasn't going to live with him. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't finish school. I'd be a high school dropout. Mm-hmm. And
because you wouldn't have the support.
I wouldn't have the support, and that would just be it. And I told him, we wouldn't have a relationship because I would have a lot of anger and resentment to my dad. And so I just told him I just wanted his love and his support and to do what's best for me. And, it took him some time to think about. And then he called me back and he realized I was right. And, he said, you have 4 months to go to be 18. And
18, yeah.
And you should stay there. And about a year later, he actually sent me a card. I don't know if you remember this. And he wrote in the card, and my dad, he is not a person that writes things. No. He writes loves dad, and that's it. Yeah. He does not like to write letters. And he wrote me this paragraph that moving in with Nanice and Dustin, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. He could just see how I was filled with love, and he just admired the woman I was.
Yeah, I remember that, and totally feels that way today. I was looking at your Facebook page, and he has, you have a picture of Dustin and Alta there, and your dad writes, "This is a great man and his son," and truly feels that way. And I love this story in relation to Ease because we could have fought back.
We could have.
We could have fought back. We could have, taken a stand, and but instead, it was handled with ease. And the way that it was handled with ease, which I think is a universal truth, is that you stood in your power and you spoke your truth. And you said, "Yes, Dad, you can make me leave here, but you can't make me live with you, and you can't make me have a relationship with you. So it's your choice what you do here, but what I want is to stay here, live here, thrive here, and develop a relationship with you that's based on love and honesty and trust and well-being." And because you chose ease, it created this space of ease. It was like, you can't make me, blah, blah, blah. And the dad would have, done anything and everything he could. And, it's human nature. Wouldn't have blamed him. But because you chose ease, which was standing in your true intrinsic power, your dad was able to choose ease too. And it was easy. It was totally easy.
And all out of love.
And all out of love. All out of love. It's interesting because it makes me think of all the times that in the past, that I chose the battle over the ease. I chose to be right, because it's just not right, or it's just not fair, or, and I had a lot of incidents happen in a short period of time. And one was at a Best Buy, and there was just this incident happened a few years ago, and it in my mind, it wasn't right and it wasn't fair, and and I had ordered this item, and after waiting, Christmas Eve in the line for hours and hours, they didn't have it, and they sent me to another store, and I had to wait another line. I was sick with the flu, and not at my best, and when I finally, when it was finally my turn, they wouldn't give the item to me, which I had already paid for, because I didn't have a receipt, because the other store didn't give me a receipt, and then they couldn't get in touch with the other store, and they wouldn't give me the item, which was like this thing that my son wanted for Christmas, and it was, and then so then I called Dustin, who was in the neighborhood, and he comes down, and we talk about Dustin a lot today. I'm sure he loves that. And he comes down, and and now he's taking defense for me, because I'm just so sick. I just want this present for my son, and the manager lost his temper and called Dustin. Do you remember what he called Dustin?
Jackass.
A jackass. The store manager in Best Buy, okay, called Dustin a jackass. And as soon as he said that, he knew he made a mistake. And end of story. We walked out of there with the gift for my son, plus $150 gift card. Now you might be thinking, because at the time I was thinking, wow, okay, I won. But hindsight. And I had enough of these silly little incidents in a short period of time to realize that even if I did win, I didn't win. And I didn't win for so many reasons. And one of the reasons that I didn't win is because it simply just didn't feel good. To have to battle to prove that I'm right, to get someone else to give me what I want or I think I'm deserving of, that's not worth it. All the energy that takes, it takes a lot of energy. And what does that take away from other parts of my life and the people in my life and my well-being? But not only that, I started looking at the bigger picture, okay, and the bigger picture beyond me. And so I started thinking about in this particular situation, the store manager, and how he was affected. Now, certainly you might say, well, he just should have given you the thing that you paid for, and he didn't have to make a big deal out of it. And that's, that may be all well and true. Of course, I never would have had this opportunity if it ended up any other way. I never would have learned this beautiful and glorious lesson if it had ended up any other way. So in that way, it was definitely in my highest good, as is everything, especially those beautiful challenges that happened to us. So I started looking at what it did to this man's day. Okay, so his energy was definitely affected. He was a relatively young man. I'm sure he had a family.
Yeah.
His next day it was Christmas. What did it do to his energy? And I actually looked, and how did I look? I simply asked the universe, show me what it did to him, and I saw how that energy was rippling out to his family, and then from his family to everybody, that came in contact with his family, and rippled out from there, and plus all his employees and everything else. And so I might have won. I might have been right, and I might have won, but the cost was too great, and not just to me and those around me, but to him and those around him. We are all connected.
Right.
We are connected. So for me to need or want to be right or to get my way, the cost is too great. Now, I'm not saying that the right thing to do is just to always give in and let go. That's not what I'm saying. And in fact, the weird thing that happened, April, after I said, you know what, I'm not willing to fight anymore. I'm not willing to, get my way, even if I believe I'm right. once I made that choice, then these things stopped happening to me literally overnight. There was no more problems. There was no more problems. And in fact, if something does come up, which it rarely does now, I just say my truth. I say what I would like, and then I let it go. And lo and behold, it always turns out good without the effort and with total ease. Because it's more important to me to have harmony and ease than it is to be right and get my way. And
That's important.
It's important. And so I can look at this now as I'm speaking about it and say, I can see how this transfers over for everything in my life, any area that there's not ease. So it might not be, being right and getting in my way because of a situation or a relationship dynamic. It could be, what I'm really looking at now is with divine source. Yeah. Bingo. Yeah. That I think it has to be a certain way, and that I think that I have to do certain things in order for it to be a certain way, and that is just not true.
Yeah.
So maybe the ease comes in this place of simply taking a breath and just asking for guidance and waiting for guidance before action is taken.
Right.
Because if I look at all the areas of my life that are easy, it's those areas where I don't do anything until I am guided intuitively as to what to do.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you too? Do you see that?
I totally see that.
Yeah.
What I got too is like how we think we're better than God. I just got that. And we play God. I mean, how many times do we do that?
Yes. Yeah. We think we're better than God. That is so beautiful. Yeah. So I had this some spiritual experience a couple of weeks ago, and it was had to do with that, and it was about just letting go and letting God. And if the word God doesn't work for you, just exchange that word for whatever word does.
Right.
It just happens to resonate with me and with April. So it was like I just oh wow, look, when I completely let go, and I just started laughing because I thought like when you're a kid, like, look mom, no hands, on the bike, right? I was like, look God, no hands, look God, no hands. In fact, I think I want to do bumper sticker that way. Look God, no hands, but then people might think that they don't have to drive with two hands, and I'll think about that. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. We know better than God. Yeah. Isn't that where all the challenges in our lives come from, when we think we know better? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we think we know better. That's beautiful. So a couple of years ago, I was in Italy with Natalie and Carolee. After Italy, of course, they went to Italia and Carolina. And we had the most magical, amazing 2 weeks of our lives, totally. I've been many places in the world on a lot of journeys, but nothing was as magical as this time in Italy. It was truly the most spiritual experience of my life, and they could probably say the same thing. So you think of Italy, well, Italy's not known for its spirituality, it's more known for sensuality, And so why was it that? Because when we went, we just let go. Literally, we arrived in Rome, stayed in Rome for a couple of days, and had no plans whatsoever at all after that. And we're like, okay, what's calling us now? And we ended up renting a car and driving down to the Amalfi Coast, and everywhere we went, a room was provided for us, meals were provided for us when we needed them. Everywhere we went, magic happened. I mean, we had no reservations anywhere, and we drove up to Florence, not knowing that it was impossible to get a room last minute, that you have to literally book a year ahead of time. And of course, there was a room waiting for us, and we needed internet. And we had found this room online. It was like the only room. And by the time we got there, I walked in and I said, "Oh, you have a room." And for some reason, we couldn't book online or something. And the man said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We see that man that just left. That was our last room. He just got." And I just knew that the universe was providing for us. I just knew it. I was so sure. And I said, "Oh, could you check again?" And he looked at me, he says, "This is a very small inn," his beautiful Italian accent, which I can't imitate. "It's a very small inn, and we only have a certain number of rooms. I can count for every room, and we definitely, don't have any more rooms left." And I said, "Oh, but could you just please check?" And, after a couple of rounds of this and just, no friction, just complete. He said, could you just please check, once again? Finally, he looked in his book and he says, oh, come with me. And lo and behold, there was our room with 3 beds, perfect, beautiful. Yeah. Well, could you check again? Because I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that we were being provided for. And I think there's that element, and we're talking about this, the I know factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the I know factor is just this knowing that, what you need is already there.
Right.
Yeah. What you need is already there. And so the whole trip was like that. The whole trip was this I know factor. And things didn't happen the way we planned because we didn't plan. It was always very clear what we needed, when we needed it, and it was always there. Always. One day after another. That when we got to Venice, none of us had any by the time we had no time to stop to get cash from an ATM before that, so we just had our plastic cards, which usually is perfectly fine, except when we went to get cash at the ATM after arriving in Venice, none of the ATMs worked. None of them worked. Okay, and that we're walking along the canal there, and we're, for the first time probably in the whole trip, not one of us is saying a word because we're all really concerned. What are we going to do without money, right? To pay for anything? Like, here we are, and we can't. We're on this, Venice. It's like, we're in the middle of nowhere. Right? What are we going to do? And this man walks out of this restaurant. He was a waiter. He looked right at us, and he just started singing the song, "Don't worry, be happy. Every little thing's going to be all right," which had been our theme song the whole trip. And we just started laughing, and we let it go, completely let it go. And I don't know how, but we spent the next, 3 or so days in Venice, and we made out just fine. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. 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 That there really is a divine source, working for us, giving us exactly what we need when we need it. Yeah.
So I guess what I would say is, from the lesson that I've learned, is stop trying and start doing. Because if you look at all the things, it's like things you try to do, like you're trying to control and you're trying to do this. Yeah. But it seems like from all experiences, when everything just comes out of ease, it's just by doing it. It's just letting go. And
so I think a lot of people can be confused with that. Like, what do you mean doing? I am, because we start off with the to-do list. So maybe you could be a little more specific what you mean by doing. I'm thinking that you mean just going with the flow.
Just go in the flow, doing whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah. So choosing it. Yeah, just choosing, like, okay, this is what I choose, and just having full certainty that what you need will be provided when you need it.
Yeah. So I would say choosing and then let go.
Yeah, choosing. Yeah. And if you have to ask if you have chosen, then you haven't. When you choose something, there's no doubt. It's as good as done. I think that's a real key in my book, because at this point, that's what I talk about, that really is a true key to manifestation. That until we choose, it's like we've given the universe mixed signals.
Right.
And once we choose, like, this is what I want, it's this will, this is what I will. And once the universe is very clear with what we want, then the universe can create all sorts of magic to make that happen. And that magic doesn't just happen in this moment or the future. That magic ripples back to the past, and events and things will change in the past to provide you what you need right now and in the future even. Right? Yes. Beautifully said. Yes. So any last words of wisdom?
I think we covered it. So.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah. I think about all the magic in my life, all the miracles in my life, and oh boy, there have been so many. And when I look at them, the one thing that they had in common was this sense of ease. And that makes me think that when we allow things to be easy, what we're really doing is allowing those miracles and those magicals to happen in our life. And there's no reason why they can't happen every day. When I was in Italy, It was happening like wildfire because I had completely let go of expectation. I had completely let go of how it had to look. And so I would choose. We chose to go to the Amalfi Coast. We chose to go to Florence. We chose to go to Venice. We chose this. We chose that. And the universe arranged for those things to happen. And one particular experience that happened in Rome was that on the top of St. Peter's Cathedral, there's a beautiful dome that we really wanted to go up in. And it was like a 2-hour wait, and there was a charge. We were already tired, but we really wanted to go. And the miracle happened that we were brought up there. We were literally brought up there through a secret passageway without a cost, without waiting online. And the universe, God, heard our prayers and our desire and just made it happen without any effort whatsoever on our part. All we did was set the intention, choose it, let it go, and say yes to it, allowed it when the opportunity came to us, and then, of course, just rejoiced in true and absolute gratitude from that moment on. There is a divine force listening to you, not just sometimes, but all the time, 24/7. And how do you invoke that divine source, that divine force, into helping you create the life you really want? Well, the answer's simple. It's acknowledging it. It's acknowledging it. Imagine a genie following you around all the time, and yet you don't access that genie. You don't use that genie. Well, there is a great genie following you around all the time, and it is this divine source. It is this God. It is this divine genie of sorts. I like that, our divine genie. But it's not in a bottle. It's in us, and it's all around us, just waiting for our prayers, our requests, our allowance. And so today, and from this day forth, I invite you to invite this divine source into your life. I invite you to acknowledge that you really do have a genie guiding you in every way and every day, and allowing the magic to unfold and the miracles to just sweep you off your feet. And let it be easy, because everything you want in life wants to be easy just for you. Just for you. You have been listening to Chai with Nanice. Have an amazing week. Wishing you magical and miracles. Bye for now.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at Nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.